I stood in the corner of Amber's friend's penthouse, holding a glass of champagne. I had not touched watching my fiancée laugh with her circle. The view from the 40th floor was stunning city lights, stretching out like scattered diamonds. But all I could hear was her voice loud and mocking, cutting through the cocktail party chatter. "Oh, Marcus, he works in a cubicle. You know, one of those sad little boxes with gray walls." Her friends erupted in laughter. Amber smirked, that same smirk I used to find charming. Poor thing spends all day staring at spreadsheets or whatever. I watched her performance, feeling something cold settle in my chest. She had no idea who I actually was. And in that moment I decided she never would. Not from me anyway. Before I tell you how I let my own fiancée discover the truth in the most humbling way possible, drop a comment letting me know where you are watching from. If you have ever been underestimated by someone who claimed to love you, smash that like button and subscribe. Because what unfolded next proved that sometimes the best response to disrespect is simply letting reality do the talking. Let me take you back to where this all started. I met Amber 2 years ago at a charity gala downtown. I was there representing my company. She was there with her socialite friends. She wore a red dress that turned heads, had confidence that filled a room, and when she approached me at the bar, I was genuinely interested. We talked for hours that night. She told me about her work as a lifestyle influencer, her passion for fashion and travel, her dreams of building a brand. I told her I worked in finance and left it at that. The truth was more complicated. At 32 years old, I was the vice president of strategic operations at Hartman Financial Group, one of the largest investment firms on the East Coast. I oversaw 4 departments, managed a team of 63 people, and made decisions that moved millions of dollars daily. My salary was in the high 6 figures with bonuses that could double that. But I had learned years ago not to lead with that information. Too many people changed when they heard the title. They saw dollar signs instead of a person. They treated me like a prize instead of a human being. So when Amber and I started dating, I kept things vague. I told her I worked at Hartman Financial, which was true. I told her I did operations work, which was technically true. When she asked about my day, I talked about meetings and reports and emails. All true. I just left out the part where I was the one running those meetings, where executives waited for my reports, where my emails could greenlight or kill multi-million-dollar projects. I lived in a nice but modest apartment in a middle-class neighborhood, drove a 5-year-old sedan, dressed casually on weekends. Nothing about my lifestyle screamed executive. Amber came from money. Old money. Her father owned a chain of luxury car dealerships across 3 states. Her mother sat on charity boards and threw fundraising galas. Amber herself had never really worked a traditional job. Her influencer career was subsidized by her parents, and while she had a decent following, it was not exactly paying her bills. She lived in a downtown loft her father bought her, drove a BMW he leased, and had a credit card with no limit that he paid off monthly. She was used to a certain lifestyle and made no apologies for it. In the beginning, it did not matter. We had fun together. She was charming, spontaneous, full of energy. She introduced me to art galleries and exclusive restaurants. I introduced her to hiking trails and hole-in-the-wall diners I loved. We balanced each other out, or so I thought. But over time, I started noticing small things. The way she talked about people in service jobs with casual disdain. The way she rolled her eyes when I suggested splitting a check. The way she made little comments about my apartment being cute in a tone that did not feel like a compliment. 6 months ago, I proposed. We were on vacation in Napa Valley, watching the sunset over the vineyards. She said yes. Immediately posted photos on social media. Within minutes, started planning a wedding that very night. I was happy. I loved her, or I thought I did. I figured the small red flags were just personality quirks I could overlook. Everyone has flaws, right? But then the comments about my job started. At first, they were gentle, almost teasing. "When are you going to get a promotion, babe?" Or, "Do you think you will ever move up from your little desk?" I laughed them off. Then they got more pointed. "My friend Jessica's husband is a director at his company. Maybe you should be more ambitious." I started to feel defensive. I wanted to tell her the truth, to say that I was already at a level most people spent decades trying to reach. But something stopped me. Some instinct told me to wait to see where this went. Her friends were even worse. Tiffany Courtney and the rest of her social circle were all daughters of wealthy families or married to successful men. They measured worth in job titles and brand names. When Amber introduced me at parties as her fiancé who works in finance, I could see them sizing me up, doing mental calculations. My off-the-rack blazer, my department store watch, my lack of flashy accessories. They would smile politely and change the subject quickly. I did not fit their narrative. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Tiffany was hosting a cocktail party at her penthouse to celebrate her 30th birthday. Amber insisted we go. I was exhausted from a brutal week at work. We had just closed a major acquisition deal that required 70-hour weeks and constant crisis management. But I threw on a blazer and went because it mattered to her. The penthouse was packed with Amber's crowd. Everyone was dressed to impress, drinking expensive wine, talking about their recent trips to Europe or their new investments. I felt out of place immediately. I was standing by the window trying to enjoy the view and decompress when I overheard Amber talking to a group of her friends about 20 feet away. She did not realize I was within earshot. Or maybe she did and did not care. Courtney had just finished bragging about her husband's recent promotion to senior partner at his law firm. Tiffany was gushing about her boyfriend's tech startup that had just secured funding. Then someone asked Amber, "So what does Marcus do again?" I turned slightly curious to hear how she would answer. Amber took a sip of her champagne and I saw that smirk spread across her face. "Oh, Marcus," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "He works in a cubicle. You know, one of those sad little boxes with gray walls where people just stare at computer screens all day." The group erupted in laughter. Not polite chuckles, but genuine amusement. Like the idea of me in a cubicle was hilarious. "Seriously?" one of them asked. "What does he even do?" Amber shrugged dramatically. "I do not really know. Something with spreadsheets. He is always talking about meetings and emails. Super boring stuff. I honestly zone out when he tries to explain it." More laughter. My hand tightened around my champagne glass. "Poor Amber," Tiffany said, patting her shoulder mockingly. "Stuck with a cubicle worker while the rest of us have real successful men." "I know, right," Amber replied, and there was no affection in her voice. Just disdain. "But he is sweet, I guess. And the wedding will be beautiful once my dad pays for it. Maybe Marcus will get promoted eventually. Though, honestly, I am not holding my breath. Some people are just meant for middle management." The group dissolved into giggles. I stood there frozen, feeling anger and hurt war inside me. This was the woman I had proposed to. The woman who wore my ring. And she was reducing me to a punchline for her vapid friends. A server passed by, and I set my untouched champagne on their tray. I could have walked over right then and corrected her. Could have pulled out my phone and shown them my email signature with the VP title. Could have mentioned the 6-figure salary or the corner office or the executive parking spot. But something stopped me. Some deep instinct told me that this moment was a gift. It was showing me exactly who Amber really was when she thought I could not hear. And more importantly, it was showing me that she had no respect for me at all. I made my way over to the group casually, as if I had not heard anything. "Hey, babe," I said, sliding an arm around Amber's waist. She stiffened slightly but recovered quickly, pasting on a smile. "Oh, hi, honey. We were just talking about you." "All good things, I hope," I said, looking around at her friends. They were all trying not to laugh, exchanging glances. Courtney bit her lip. Tiffany looked away. "Of course," Amber said sweetly. "I was just telling them about your job." "Ah, yeah," I said, nodding. "The cubicle life. It is pretty unglamorous, I will admit." I played right into it. Amber's eyes lit up. She thought I was validating her story. "See," she said to her friends, "he knows it is not exactly thrilling." "But someone has got to do the boring work right," I added with a self-deprecating smile. The group was eating it up. They loved this narrative of Amber slumming it with her middle management fiancé. We stayed at the party another hour. I smiled, made small talk, let them underestimate me. The entire time I was making mental notes, watching how Amber interacted with me versus how she interacted with her friends' successful boyfriends and husbands. The difference was stark. She barely touched me, barely looked at me. When someone asked her about wedding plans, she talked about the venue and the dress and the flowers, but never once mentioned me, the groom. It was like I was a prop in her production, not a partner. When we finally left, Amber was buzzing with champagne and social energy. In the car ride home, she chattered about the party, about who wore what, about the drama between Courtney and her ex who showed up uninvited. She did not ask me if I had a good time. Did not notice that I had barely spoken all night. When I dropped her off at her loft, she kissed me quickly and said, "See you this weekend," and disappeared inside before I could answer. I sat in my car outside her building for 20 minutes, engine running, heat blasting against the cold autumn night. My phone buzzed. A text from Jason, my director of analytics, and probably my closest friend at work. How was the party? Did you tell her yet? He knew the truth about my relationship with Amber. He had been urging me for months to come clean about my position. I typed back no, and I am not going to. Going to let her figure it out on her own. Over the next 2 weeks, I started pulling back. Not dramatically, just gradually. I was busier at work legitimately. We had another major deal in the pipeline, plus annual reviews for my entire team. I saw Amber less, texted less. She did not seem to notice. She was wrapped up in wedding planning and her social calendar. When we did see each other, I started paying more attention to how she treated me. It was not good. She complained constantly about my lack of ambition. "You have been at the same job for years," she said one night over dinner. "Do you not want to grow? Do you not want more?" I almost told her then.